me say good afternoon to everyone, and I'm here this afternoon with Vice Mayor Pro Tem Martha Kestek Tatum and with Council Member Abby Kamen, who's the chairperson of Public Safety and Homeland Security at City Council. I'm also joined today by Chief Troy Finner, Fire Chief Sam Pena, Thomas Munoz of the Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Michael Heckman, the CEO of Houston First. Let me just make a few comments, and then I'm going to turn it first over to Chief Fenner to just talk about some of the security measures that will be taken for this weekend. Tonight, the lights at City Hall will be turned on. They will be pink and blue. Pink and blue. And they'll be pink and blue for the 21 whose lives were taken in Uvalde a couple of days ago, and especially for the 19 children whose lives were taken. So tonight, the lights at City Hall will be pink and blue, and they will remain pink and blue during the course of as we go through this weekend. And now I want us, even as we prepare for the events that will be taking place in our city over the weekend, I want us all to remember the 21 persons who lost their lives, whose lives were taken, and especially the children, and the fact that for all of these families, they'll be dealing with burying their loved ones, handling their family matters, and the pain that they are currently experiencing, they will be experiencing for a lifetime. So whatever takes place, and I want to say for this weekend, especially in our city, in Houston, I want us to bear that in mind. It's not so much about us, it is about those particular families. And so as we move forward with events in our city, I want us to do things peacefully, decently, respectfully, and not add to the stress and the anxiety that these families are currently experiencing. The NRA convention, unless they have changed, will proceed in the city of Houston this weekend. And at the same time, there will be probably a number of people who will be protesting and voicing their views. For those persons who will be attending the NRA, whether we agree with their positions that they take on guns, we certainly will be providing the necessary security for those individuals who will be attending the NRA convention. I know I've gotten several emails and calls about, Mayor, why not just cancel this convention? Well, we just don't have that luxury or that option just to cancel a convention that has been on the books for 2 years, where we are contractually obligated, where plans have already been made. You just can't cancel that convention. And neither do we have the legal right to cancel conferences or conventions because we don't like the subject matter that will be discussed. So we just can't do that. Certainly the NRA had the option of delaying the start of their convention for a week or two to allow the families to plan and have the funeral arrangements if they so desired, but from all indication, it's moving forward. And so we will do everything as we would do for any convention, any conference, is to make sure that it goes as smoothly as possible and that we provide the necessary security for people who will be visiting our city. At the same time, people do have the right to express their points of view. And we will be providing various staging areas for people to express their points of view, whether they are pro the positions being taken by the NRA or against, contrary opinions of people being presented by the NRA. We will be providing the necessary staging grounds for them. But for everyone involved who are in our city, whether living in our city or visiting our city for this particular event, any of the events surrounding it, we will provide and ramp up and provide the necessary security because we want everyone to be safe in our city. So those are initially of the plans. I'm going to have Chief Fenner and then Chief Pena to further lay out what these plans are. But I want to underscore and ask everyone involved not to do anything that would further add to the anguish and the stress and anxiety of the families who are already having to just cope with the loss of their loved ones. Now, having said that, let me yield to Chief Fenner.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Before, and like the Mayor said, before we discuss public safety, just want to say the focus should be on those suffering families in Uvalde. And let's remember that. If we remember nothing else from this press conference, remember that. People have the tendency to push their own agendas. We ask that you don't do that here in Houston. And I know emotions are high, and it's not going to change anything, but we can be respectful. These events like this, the protests, assemblies, whatever you want to call them, it's nothing new to us. But I just want us as a city to do what we need to do. You will have, our plan is, as we always do, you have a protest zone and you have a counter-protest zone. I want everybody to come out to respect that. We had a map, but I understand that we're having some technical difficulties. We're going to send that out. Respect that coming and going. You will see officers everywhere in the parking lots, in common areas, to direct you to where you need to be. Remember, just respect one another. One thing that we will not tolerate, we will respect everybody's right to protest and speak their concerns in their voice. But we will not tolerate destruction of property, nor will we tolerate people assaulting individuals. I want to make a call to our community, just as we always do. It's not public safety, it's not the responsibility of police and fire alone. We need our community. If you see something, say something. If you see a disturbance starting, please say something to us. I know that there are other events out there. I want to speak to Fort Bend School District, ISD. They're having their graduations, I think, on Saturday. We have it properly staffed so that we can keep those individuals separate from you guys, and you can enjoy your children's graduation. So we've taken care of that. I also want to say, in this plan, all of our local partners, law enforcement, fire, all of our federal agencies, DPS, our state agencies, everybody is into the plan. We're going to have enough officers to deal with whatever we need to deal with immediately. Also, I just want to say that we all need to just be thoughtful of one another. We have proper staffing. Operations still go on. This is Memorial Weekend. We want to make sure that everybody's safe out in patrol, but we have properly staffed, and want everybody to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin, I would first like to express my condolences for the families of the 21 innocent lives that were lost in Uvalde. Not only for them, but certainly for all the lives that have been lost throughout our country to acts of violence. We pray for them, and we hold them up in prayer, and we ask that we do something different as a community and look after each other's health and safety. So As Chief Inner and the mayor have mentioned, there's going to be a lot of activity downtown in the downtown footprint this weekend. If you plan to go out and exercise your First Amendment rights, we ask that you please do so safely and responsibly. We do know that it's going to be hot this weekend. Be prepared for that weather. We do have plans to have limited cooling stations or locations for the public, but again, those are going to be limited. Depending on the amount of crowd that we get, they may not be enough to accommodate large people falling out. So we ask the public that if you're going to attend these rallies or protests, that you do so responsibly. Look after your health physically and mentally. Hydrate appropriately. Nourish yourself appropriately. Look after one another. Keep situational awareness. Look for things that are going on around you. We implore you that we're going to ask for some safety considerations, okay? There are going to be barricades out there. Houston Police Department has done an excellent job of trying to provide safe locations for people to go and exercise their First Amendment rights. That means barricades. That means hard locations to be able to control the crowd. We ask that you know where the exits are and that you not press against these barricades, okay? Again, this is about personal responsibility. We ask you to commit to be safe and to be nonviolent. Those are the biggest messages that we want to offer from the Houston Fire Department. Don't risk your safety or the safety of others by committing acts that are going to elevate and escalate any conflict. Do so responsibly. The Houston Fire Department is going to bring in additional resources to be able to dedicate specifically for the activities that are going on this weekend. But again, a lot of the ask is going to be on the people attending. We need to do so responsibly. Look after for your own health and safety. Be aware of your surroundings. As Chief Finner has mentioned, if you see something, say something. It is as a community that we're going to be able to get through these hard times together. This is the most diverse city in the country. Certainly, we can get together in a crowd, exercise our First Amendment rights, and do so respecting each other's views. We're prepared to ensure a safe environment, but a lot of the ask is going to be on the public as well. Again, we're going to have resources available. We are participating in the Unified Command along with our local, our state, and our federal partners. We're going to have additional rescue teams. Our Office of Emergency Management is coordinating these events. Tom, thank you for being here and coordinating these, all these agencies. We are going to be prepared to ensure as safe an environment as we can in this, during this weekend. We have a lot of activities. We have graduations also in the same footprint as well as the convention. So again, we ask for your patience, we ask for your consideration, and we ask that you exercise your rights in a safe and responsible manner. Thank you.
Did you want to add anything?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chiefs. As I just want to reiterate and echo loudly what our team has mentioned, and Chiefs and the Mayor, our condolences and prayers are always with the families of Uvalde and everyone else through the country. As Chief mentioned, we are going to be having unified command, working with stakeholders throughout all the agencies, state, local, and federal, to ensure a safe environment, to ensure safety, but we are going to be monitoring and ensuring that everyone is looked over. And as the Mayor has mentioned, we are a city with compassion, and we take that very seriously. So once again, we are going to be working together, and Chiefs, Mayor, thank you for all the support.
Michael, anything or comments?
Mayor, thank you. Again, reiterating from our point of view at Houston First, the unspeakable tragedy and evil that we saw this week is difficult for any of us to truly wrap our heads around. Our focus now, as the Mayor and the Chiefs have mentioned, is safety, security, and having a peaceful weekend. We are well coordinated with all the appropriate agencies and authorities to be able to do that. Our staff has been working at the George R. Brown really around the clock to make sure that we can support the plan that you heard just a few minutes ago and ensure that we have
a safe experience, whether it be for folks that are visiting Houston from out of town or for Houstonians that may be coming down either to the convention or maybe demonstrating using their First Amendment rights to let their voice be heard. I would echo what was said earlier. Houston is a very welcoming place and an inclusive city. We can do this the right way. We can allow people to be heard, have their voice be heard, while still allowing to have a peaceful convention at the convention center. Thank you.
Thank you. As you can imagine, since Tuesday, we have ramped up security measures quite a bit, more resources on federal, state, local level, working with all of our partners. We've done that. And we know emotions are running high, but we want to bring things down, okay? So let me just say this. I know there are a lot of people who believe that there are just too many guns out there. I agree with you. There are a lot of people who believe that there should be a ban on assault weapons. I agree with you. There are a lot of people who believe that, 18-year-olds shouldn't be allowed to be able to purchase guns and assault weapons. I agree with you. And people ought to have their right to voice their views. I agree with you on that. But I also want to ask that if you feel that way, then join me at the ballot box, okay? Join me at the ballot box. And if you feel that way, let's make sure that our voices are heard and our presence are felt at the legislature. In fact, legislatures all over the state, and that our voices are heard, presence felt before the House of Congress, legislators and senators. Join me at that, because in the end, that's where the real changes will take place. And but what we don't want to do, we don't want another person's life taken or injuries occurring. That defeats the purpose, okay? So let's be very focused and very intentional. And let's make sure that in our city, that we conduct ourselves with the dignity and the respect that is deserving of this city, and quite frankly, any city. Now, having said that, if you have any questions, if anybody have any questions or comments to anyone? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That was the document we wanted to put up. So I just want to say really quickly, the protesting zone is going to be in Discovery Green on the stage area. So just note that, and we're going to tweet this out to everybody so that they'll have it, but I did want to say that because we will separate people to keep things as peaceful as we can. So like I said before, everybody do the part. Thank you.
Bueno, buenas tardes. Les voy a dar unos comentarios en español. Estamos preparados este fin de semana para tener unos eventos seguros en el centro de la ciudad de Houston. Los eventos van a ocurrir en Discovery Green y el George R. Brown. El Departamento de Policías, junto con el Departamento de Bomberos, la Oficina de Emergencias y con nuestros colegas del Estado y agencias federales, estamos preparados para tener un ambiente seguro. Pero lo que pedimos a la comunidad es que se mantengan en paz. Esta es su oportunidad de ir y expresar lo que quieran decir, pero lo que pedimos a la comunidad es que lo hagan responsablemente, sin violencia y en paz. Estamos esperando la temperatura que esté elevada. Van a ser unos días largos, el viernes, sábado y domingo. Va a haber muchas personas en el centro de la ciudad de Houston y queremos que se preparen adecuadamente para poder estar seguros en esos ambientes. Consuman bastante agua. Sí va a haber centros limitados o lugares limitados donde puedan tener un espacio que esté más fresco, pero no va a ser bastante para las personas que anticipamos que lleguen a estas protestas. Así es que les pedimos a la comunidad que vengan preparados, que consuman bastante agua, que tomen los pasos necesarios para asegurar que estén seguros en estas protestas. El alcalde Turner les pide a la comunidad que vengan y atiendan a estos eventos, pero que también tengan precaución de su seguridad, que lo hagan responsablemente y respetuosamente a los puntos de vista de las personas que van a estar atendiendo estos lugares. Vamos a estar preparados, el Departamento de Policías y el Departamento de Bomberos, para poder prestar servicios de emergencia, pero la mayoría de lo que nosotros pedimos es que la comunidad ponga de su parte para que estos eventos sean seguros. Thank you.
Hector, did you want to add as well? I can do it, but if you could come.
Buenas tardes, a nombre del Departamento de Policía y del jefe Troy Finner. Antes de comenzar a hablar sobre la seguridad de los eventos de este fin de semana, queremos darle a conocer a las familias y a la comunidad de Uvalde que estamos unidos con ellos, que les mandamos el más sincero pésame y sentimos mucho lo que ha sucedido con ellos. Ahora, referente a los eventos de este fin de semana, la convención de la Asociación de Rifles Nacional va a estar aquí en el centro de convenciones. Le pedimos a la comunidad que esté consciente de que va a haber mucha gente en el centro. Este tipo de eventos atraen a gente a favor y en contra de lo que representa esta asociación. Y nosotros, como miembros de la policía, vamos a estar aquí para asegurar que los derechos de todos se respeten. El jefe de la policía le quiere dar a conocer a todos los que van a participar y los que van a estar presentes en el centro de que vamos a respetar sus derechos, pero lo que no vamos a tolerar va a ser que se destruya propiedad o que haya agresiones físicas en contra de algún individuo. Inclusive vamos a tener gente adicional, va a haber policías que van a ajustar sus horarios y vamos a incrementar el número de policías que van a estar presentes para asegurarnos de que todo el mundo va a estar seguro. La seguridad de la comunidad es muy importante. I think that's it, Chief.
Thanks, Commander. Okay, are there any questions to anyone up here? If you-
Hi, Mayor. As we wait to see if anything does change with gun legislation, there are some people who think that schools across America should be safer in terms of more difficulty for people to just walk in. Do you support any measures here in Houston to make schools harder to enter if you're not a parent or if you don't have an appointment?
I mean, I'm always supportive of hardening schools to prevent events from what took place in Uvalde from taking place. So I'm very supportive of that. But that's at the end of the process. The best way to prevent these type of shootings is to reduce the marketplace for guns, to ban assault weapons. They've done it. Look, this is an American problem, okay? It's not happening in other countries. It's not happening in other countries. So the best thing is to reduce the assault weapons. And when the ban on assault weapons was in place in the 1990s, the number of incidents went down. It was only after it expired the number started to go up. Not allowing people with 18 to be able to purchase guns. The legislature changed that, the Texas legislature, in 2021. But in 2019, they made it where you had to be 21 to purchase cigarettes. So something's wrong with that. Repealing House Bill 1927, permitless carry, okay? No license, no permit, no training. So now there are a number of things that we need to do. Universal background checks, red flag laws, the list goes on and on. So yes, you always want to be able to harden schools to make it more difficult. But really, the best way to reduce this type of violence within our schools that's killing too many of our children is to reduce the access to guns. Okay.
Chief Finner, can you talk about how many people you're expecting? Are you expecting 5,000 people this weekend, 10,000 people, 20,000 people? And how are you getting the officers for that? Did you cancel vacations, 12-hour shifts, et cetera?
Yes, we just something short of full mobilization. So we're adjusting shifts and making sure that we have the number that we have. So we're looking at, I think, about 80,000 over the 3-day period. And like I said a little bit earlier, I think we have proper staff and to deal with whatever we need to deal with. And thank you.
That's in terms, but I want to clarify, that's in terms of people attending the NRA
Yes.
conference.
Possible protests, any idea?
I'm not sure on the protests. I can tell you, and you can imagine, we've been getting chatter from everywhere. And I always say that we pray for the best and we prepare for the worst. So we don't know until they show up, but we'll be prepared.
Mayor, can you elaborate on the lengths that the city went to either delay or cancel the NRA convention?
Well, the convention has been on the books for 2 years. So it's a contractual obligation, and you can't cancel a contract just because you don't agree on, with the content. So that's pretty clear.
Were there communications, at least as an attempt?
As an attempt to do what?
An attempt with the convention organizers to either delay or cancel or do anything?
That is their choice. They certainly can delay. They could delay this convention if they wanted to. That is their choice. Okay. But in terms of us having the ability to cancel the contract without exposing the city to liability, that would pose a very, very high risk.
And what would the liability have been?
When you're a convention of 50,000, let's say 50,000 people, in terms of their costs, in terms of airline tickets, in terms of hotel costs, other costs that they have incurred, costs to the Houston First, costs to other organizations, that could have been a huge cost. So I've been a lawyer for 40 years. You don't have the luxury of canceling something because you do not like the content without exposing the city to liability. So that's clear.
I guess, but was there an effort did someone ask them, could you please delay? Did that happen?
Well, you certainly could go and ask them.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess to follow up, Chief Finner, can you break down the unified command? Which agencies and how many officers are you expecting?
Every agency that you can think about. I'd never talk in terms of numbers, specific numbers, but all our local agencies, Metro, HPD, some of the constable's office, DPS, every federal agency that we work with on a daily basis, everybody. And I want to tell you, in terms of intel and in terms of operations, strong team.
And Mayor, I guess the city will be incurring the cost for the increased presence and security?
Yes. We're going to take whatever steps we need to take to make sure that we protect everyone centered around this particular event. And let me just go back to the previous question, too, that I want to say. You had one of the key entertainers, for example, who decided to cancel, not to come, because they felt it would be disrespectful. That entertainer did it without anyone on our part asking them not to. So there comes a point in time when people have to recognize that it's disrespectful to be talking about guns when 19 kids have been killed. It would be disrespectful for the governor, former presidents, elected officials to show up, and no one should have to tell them not to. It would be disrespectful for that to occur. So I think it's important to keep the focus where the focus should be, okay? And not try to find where somebody else could eliminate something that make it easy for everybody, okay? There's some personal responsibility here. There's some personal responsibility here. 19 kids have been killed, 2 adults. And just like that entertainer made the decision, I cannot perform at the NRA because it would be disrespectful, others can make that same decision as well. And quite frankly, they should. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you. So thank everyone, and let's have a safe and peaceful weekend.